A golden sun draped the kingdom of Arden in warm light, casting long shadows across the ancient castle walls. Within those stone corridors served Eliam, the king's most trusted counselor. Renowned for his sharp mind and calm judgment, he guided the ruler through every crisis. Yet even amid admiration, whispers of envy stirred among the courtiers. Eliam had served with unwavering loyalty for decades, his wisdom often shaping the very fabric of Arden's peace. Though he wore no crown, his influence was undeniable. But in the shadows of that power, jealousy festered. To some, his presence was a reminder that true authority doesn't always come from the throne. It can rise quietly, from wisdom born of patience. Eliam's only child, Noam, was unlike the other noble youths. While they practiced rhetoric and swordplay, Noam wandered the palace gardens, listening to birdsong and pondering life. His quiet ways earned him mocking laughter in the hallways. Many called him foolish. Little did they know how wise his silence truly was. He observed more than he spoke, often watching people's actions with eyes that saw beyond words. His teachers called him distracted, but he was deeply present, absorbing truths others missed. In the soft rustle of leaves or the stillness of dusk, Noam found meaning. His heart beat to a rhythm the noisy world could not hear. One morning, the king approached Noam in the great courtyard. He held out 2 coins, one of gold, one of silver, and asked, "Which is more valuable?" Without hesitation, Noam chose the silver. The king burst into laughter, and so did every courtier. "Again," the king jeered. "The wise man's son picks silver every time." It had become a spectacle, a daily joke among the nobles. But Noam never wavered. He bowed respectfully, accepted the silver, and walked away with dignity. Behind the laughter, he sensed something deeper, an opportunity hidden in plain sight. For while the others saw a fool, Noam saw a path. And so, each morning, he played the game they thought he didn't understand. That evening, Eliam confronted his son. "Why choose silver when gold is worth so much more?" he demanded. Noam led his father to a hidden box in his chamber and opened it to reveal dozens of gleaming silver coins. "Every day I choose silver," Noam explained, "and every day the king laughs and rewards me with more silver. Gold today would end the game. Silver has filled this chest." Eliam stared at the coins in disbelief. "Had I chosen gold even once, the king's amusement would end, and so would this reward," Noam continued. "Sometimes wisdom isn't proving your intelligence, it's knowing when not to." His quiet strategy had turned ridicule into reward. Curious to see if Noam truly understood value, the king devised a public trial. A chest of 100 mixed coins, among them 1 platinum coin, was brought before the court. "If you find the platinum, it's yours. If not, you lose everything." Noam calmly selected a silver coin once again. The hall erupted in laughter until Noam spoke. "True wealth is not in the brightest metal, but in the patience to wait for the right moment." Silenced by his words, the king awarded him the platinum coin in awe. Murmurs spread like fire. The boy who once seemed foolish now stood with unmatched poise. The king recognized a rare wisdom, one not taught in books or courts, but carved quietly in a heart that listens. After the trial, a profound hush fell over the throne room. Noam's calm gaze met the king's, and Eliam felt a burden lift from his shoulders. Yet some courtiers still whispered, was this quiet youth truly wise or merely lucky? That silence, however, spoke volumes. It was the kind of silence that follows a revelation, a truth too big for words. Noam had not defended himself, nor had he boasted. He simply stood there, unwavering, and in that stillness a shift occurred, subtle but undeniable. Even the king found himself changed, questioning the noise he had once mistaken for strength. Harim, the jealous counselor, refused to accept Noam's newfound respect. He plotted behind closed doors, seeking any flaw to expose in father or son and reclaim his standing at court. His resentment grew with each passing day. He scoffed at Noam's humility, labeling it cowardice. "The court is being fooled," he whispered to his allies. "This boy is clever, yes, but cleverness without merit." Harim's pride could not bear the sight of a boy stealing the admiration he had craved for years. Driven by envy, he began devising a public humiliation so calculated it would either break Noam's image or reveal a truth even Harim wasn't ready for. Harim's machinations culminated in a trap meant to break Noam's composure. But when the moment arrived, Noam's unwavering calm and quiet faith turned Harim's scheme to dust. The king had summoned Noam to the hall, where Harim presented a riddle wrapped in riddles, a maze of logic designed to confuse and trap. The courtiers leaned in, expecting hesitation. But Noam, after a pause, gave his answer, not to impress but to speak truth. "The question reveals more about the asker than the answer," he said. The hall fell still. Harim's smug smile faded. Even the king was moved. Noam's peace was unshaken, born from something deeper than mere intellect. Word of Noam's patience spread beyond the palace walls. He became a living example. Even in adversity, true strength shone brightest in silence. The king began to seek Noam's counsel alongside Eliam's. Messengers brought tales of him to distant provinces. Mothers told their children stories of the quiet boy who turned laughter into wisdom. Travelers passed through Arden just to glimpse him. The kingdom began to shift, not from commands, but from quiet influence. In Noam's stillness, people saw their own restlessness, and many began to change. He had become not only a symbol, but a mirror, reflecting what was possible when ego stepped aside. Over time, Arden itself changed. The people learned that visible wealth and loud triumphs pale next to the invisible virtues of patience and inner peace. Noam and Eliam's story inspired every corner of the land. Street vendors paused before speaking. Children listened before interrupting. A gentleness began to ripple through the city like a quiet hymn. The king instituted days of silence in schools, moments for reflection in courts. "Let stillness be our first answer," became a royal decree. Even old enemies returned, not to fight, but to learn. Arden was no longer defined by its strength alone, but by its wisdom. The king spent long nights pondering his judgments. He realized how often he'd favored sparkle over substance, appearances over essence. His rule became gentler, guided by quiet wisdom he found in Noam. He thought back on decisions made in haste, treaties signed in pride, and promises broken under pressure. All those moments now appeared like echoes of a man he no longer wished to be. In the young boy's quiet strength, he found a reflection of the leader he aspired to become, not dominant, but discerning. And from that day forward, he resolved to lead with more heart and less ego. Despite continued challenges, Noam discovered a deep serenity. He understood that he needed neither applause nor approval, only the courage to remain true to himself. While others fought for status, Noam cultivated something rare, peace that could not be shaken by opinion. He rose early, often walking through the gardens before sunrise, finding wisdom in the rhythm of nature. The dew on leaves, the slow climb of morning light, all spoke to him of patience and quiet growth. He no longer feared misunderstanding, he embraced it as part of the journey. For those who saw, his life became a silent sermon. Harim's envy lost all power. The king and the people no longer listened to gossip, but to the calm example of Noam's patience. What once held influence, cunning words, backroom alliances, flattery, now fell on deaf ears. Even Harim began to unravel, his schemes crumbling like sand. The court had found a new model of strength, and it came not from pride, but humility. One day, Harim stood alone in the hall he once commanded with whispers. He watched Noam pass in silence and felt the weight of a truth he had long resisted, that envy destroys only the envious. Eliam taught his son and all of Arden that sometimes the greatest statement is made in silence. True listening is a gift, and patience a divine virtue. In a world eager to speak, those who truly hear become rare treasures. Noam's silence wasn't absence, it was presence. His quietude gave others the space to reflect, to pause, to think. The court meetings began with moments of stillness, and slowly, wisdom found more room to bloom. People began to understand that silence wasn't weakness, but strength waiting to act. It was the echo of peace, the breath before transformation. By story's end, the kingdom embraced a new promise, that wisdom lies not in haste but in waiting, not in noise but in stillness, and that even when called foolish, one's inner light can never be dimmed. Noam became not just a name, but a legacy, a whisper of hope for generations to come. Parents named their children after him. Scholars studied his choices. Songs were written in his honor, but Noam remained unchanged, walking the gardens in silence, smiling at the sunrise. His legacy was not carved in stone, but etched into the spirit of a people who had finally learned to listen. Noam became more than a legend. His example endured for generations as proof that faith, patience, and quiet resolve build empires stronger than any gold. His name became a symbol whispered in moments of doubt, a reminder that enduring strength comes not from being loud, but from being grounded. Children grew up with stories of the silver coins, learning that there's wisdom in restraint and power in humility. Leaders from distant lands sought Noam's counsel, and though he rarely spoke, his presence brought clarity. In silence, he shaped the world. Not through dominance, but through the unwavering brilliance of being true to one's soul. Eliam, proud beyond words, witnessed his son's journey and learned that patience is not weakness, but the path to true victory. He realized that his greatest accomplishment was not his counsel to the king, but the quiet strength he had nurtured in his son. Together, father and son walked the palace gardens, speaking little, understanding much. Arden flourished not because of power, but because of perspective. Noam's story became a lantern in dark times, reminding all who heard it that greatness grows slowly, like a tree, firmly rooted, quietly rising, destined to shelter generations. Now I speak directly to you. Have you ever felt judged, misunderstood, or even called foolish? Remember, Noam, your silence and patience hold power that others may not see. Yet time always reveals the truth. The world may rush around you, demanding noise, applause, and speed, but within your stillness lies strength. Keep walking your path even when mocked. Trust your process even when unseen. Be like Noam, not because you seek to be praised, but because you choose peace over pride. And in doing so, you will touch more lives than you'll ever know. If this story touched your heart, please like it, share it with someone who needs this reminder, and subscribe to Stories That Touch for more emotional journeys every week. See you in the next video.